I started to see years ago that the spiritual communities that I was traveling in seemed to be having a financial crisis.
Right.
They had great ideas and great creativity, and they were looking for an outlet for their expression, but they couldn't seem to find it in the material world. And then the financial people that I was meeting with, and I do seminars for financial companies all over the country, they seemed to be having a spiritual crisis.
Right.
So each side seemed to be lacking what the other side was lacking, and it really was clear to me, having a foot in both sides, that there needed to be a bridge that started bringing these two worlds back together.
Right.
And
So what is that bridge? Because a lot of spiritual people think it's unspiritual to have money or even think about that. And I think that's sort of been my problem. And so how do you bridge? Because I don't think that's really true. I think that's just an old idea.
so I think the beginning idea or foundation is that this world is supposed to be our canvas. See, for too long we've had this idea that we were looking out on this world, trying to find something to fulfill the void and emptiness that we have inside. And so many of us with a spiritual, creative bent couldn't find anything to fulfill us in the world. And whether it was a spiritual trip or a drug trip or whatever it might have been, we were all left through the 60s and after still feeling a void within us. And so we blamed the world for that. And the truth is that there's nothing to get in the world. There is nothing out there for us at all. We're here to express our infinite creative expression on the canvas that is the world.
I like that. That's exactly what I feel. To have fun and to be the most alive we can be.
Yes, absolutely. And then if you think that the outside world is the measure for your own fulfillment and happiness, you've got it backwards. And the reason why so many people reject the outside world is because they didn't find themselves being measured by the outside world to the degree that they knew inside they could be measured at. I mean, we're all infinite, beautiful, perfect creatures, and most of us growing up in this world certainly don't feel that the world honors us in that way. But the truth is that we already come to the world that way, and we're supposed to be just looking internally to see what it is that we can express out into the world. And when we start the focus inward as to what we can express outward, then the two worlds become one.
But my problem, I mean, I totally agree. My problem is it almost feels hypocritical to spend a lot of money when there's people starving, and it's like, I know that's just silly, but it's like, I feel my abundance then takes away from some other place. And I actually worked through this with T. Harv in The Millionaire Mind.
I know T well.
And yeah, but it didn't stick. So it's like, I want everyone to be abundant. I want to be abundant. I want to be successful. And I don't want to do that at the cost of anyone else. I think that's my issue. And tell me what's wrong with that kind of thinking.
The first thing is that you're giving yourself a responsibility of the world that actually you as the small I don't deserve to have.
I don't need to be responsible for other people's...
You're certainly not responsible for other people's suffering. And I'm not saying that there isn't a way that you can't certainly use your beauty and your expression to help other people, but not as the small Alan, not as the ego of Alan that's constantly judging and measuring what's going on in the outside world and either feels responsible for it or can't find their own happiness or your own happiness because of what's going on in the outside world. The truth is that you have to stand as a light or a beacon. And for you to stand as a light or a beacon, you have to come to the world with a sense of abundance. You can't come to the world with a sense of scarcity. And the idea that your abundance can take away from someone else's abundance means that God has created a world where there's only so much and we have to fight over it. And to think that there is a universe or a God that would create a world and throw 6 billion people in it to fight over the scraps doesn't seem like the truth to me. The truth to me seems that we are an expression of that oneness, that energy, that source, that God, whatever you want to name it. And in expressing that, we're expressing our infinite greatness into the world. And when we are just focused on what we're expressing and we don't want anything back from the world, Like you don't have to come to the world saying I want to make $1 million or I want to drive a Porsche or I want to drive a Bentley. But somehow, if you're totally focused on you expressing your beauty in the world without wanting anything from the world, then you realize that you already have everything.
That's good.
And then you're not constantly measuring what do I deserve, what don't I deserve, because you stop thinking that it's really happening from your own hand. You realize that the more you as an individual wanting gets out of the way, the more infinite source can fill you
give me
and flow through the world.